Hi guys, and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at hammers as the meta and breakdown usage guide. I'm trying something new out with my mic. Hopefully it's going to reduce a bit of the background noise. I'm literally completely out of options now with the background noise. I just don't know what to do with it. So I apologise. I might consider having some music or something in these just to try and drown it out a little bit, but other than that I really don't know what else I can do. I do apologise guys. Anyhow, let's get into this video. Again, as always, we're going to be using the Elder weapons just to show it off. It shows all the passives and all the skills. Obviously, it does mean that the numbers are a little bit out of proportion. So we're going to start with the Elder's Hammer. So it's just 24 steel bars to make, so it's really easy to make these. But yeah, let's get into it. So the passives, Stunning Strike. Every 5 normal attacks your attacks stun the enemy for 1.23 seconds. Getting 5 auto attacks within a short period of time isn't the easiest thing to do, and doing it while timing that stun to be any sort of use is just going to be pointless. Bearing in mind you're already going to have that reduced by CC resistance. I just don't think this is very good. Temporary threat bonus, only ever good in PvE while you're tanking. I've said this on the maces as well. You use it for PvE, but other than that it's pointless in PvP. Life Leech, every normal attack you restore 12 health. It's not bad on a hammer just because it gives you some regen, but again it's still not great. And Dread-Laden Fighting. Every 4 normal attacks, your crowd control effects are increased by 50% for 2 seconds. I believe these are the same passives that are on the mace. Again, I still prefer this one over all of them. If you can time that right and work around that, the crowd control that you can get on a hammer and a mace is really, really strong, buffing it by 50%. It's just ridiculous because it's 50% of the time of casting it. So if you silence them during this, like you Demon Helmet silence them during this, that's going to get a 50% increased buff. That's ridiculous. That is so strong. Yeah, definitely worth picking up. I think if you can play around it, it's definitely a good one. Let's go over the Qs and the Ws. Bash Knee instantly slows the target for 32% for 859 seconds. Also deals 159 physical damage. Low amount of damage, but hammers aren't there to do damage, they're there to be utility. A slow for 30% isn't bad, and you can keep it up permanently. Low energy cost and a 3-second cooldown. Yeah, it's pretty decent. You can pretty much keep it up permanently. Threatening Strike, an attack that increases your generated threat by 3 seconds and deals 191 damage. Same cooldown, same energy cost, does a little bit more damage. So good for PvE, but again, PvP you want the slow, it's quite nice. You can actually rotate through targets. You can keep this, if you play well, you can keep this on 2 targets 100%, which is really strong. Heavy Cleave unleashes a heavy attack that deals 779 damage to all enemies in front of you. 40 energy cost, 1 second cast time and 15-second cooldown. Does a lot of base damage, like a ridiculous amount of base damage. However, it's quite hard to hit. Pretty much everyone will dodge this if you don't have them in some sort of crowd control for it. If you can get them in this though, it gives hammers a way to actually deal some significant damage in a fight. Slowing Charge. Charges an enemy, dealing 120 damage to enemies in a 5-meter radius around the target and slowing them by 42% for 8.5 seconds. I actually don't like this just because of Bash Knee. It gives a little bit better of a slow for the same duration, but I mean, is it worth losing on potential heavy cleaves or sleeps? But we'll go over that one in a second. I don't think it's very good, but 46 energy cost, quite high. Yeah, it is really high. 9-meter range, so you're not even going to be able to charge a caster from that. The only thing at 9 meters is Curse, I believe, and cooldown 15 seconds, which is quite a short cooldown, but you're going to energy yourself very quickly. Knockout. Attacks target's head, striking them for 162 damage and putting them to sleep for 12.49 seconds. So just to go back to what I was saying about the passives earlier, if you time this with Dread-Laden Fighting, you can actually get this to up to like an 18-second sleep, which PvP that's going to be like a 9 or 10-second sleep in PvP. That's ridiculous. You can take someone out of a fight completely. As long as you don't passively deal damage to them or AoE them, you are golden to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage to the rest of the team, and just ignore them completely. You can put this on a healer, as long as they don't get cleansed, you're absolutely fine. Definitely a strong ability, especially when combined properly with that. And then the E, obviously they change on each weapon, but Earth Shatter. Shatters the earth, dealing 159 damage to all enemies in a 5.5 meter radius around the caster, and stunning them for 6.44 seconds. 52 energy cost and a 15-second cooldown. So again, if you can time this with Dread-Laden fighting, this is going to be really strong. Like a 7-second stun already, well, 6.5 second stun, you get this up with the Dread-Laden, that's going to be what, like nearly 10 seconds, so like 6 seconds with CC resistance. That's going to be pretty strong in a AoE situation. If you can get 2 or 3 of them with this could be a game changer. However, it is one hand, it does do a little bit less damage than the rest of them, which means in fairness there are better options through the other ones. But still a good weapon. You could use this with sword and board, hammer and board obviously, but like sarcophagus, you could take the cative shield, the hell artifact shield that gives CC duration, which means all of this just gets buffed basically. There are definitely options to use this as the one-hander. Pole hammer. So again, the only thing that changes here is some of the damages, I believe, goes up because it's a two-hander, and then the E. Groundbreaker. Split the earth in front of you, stuns every enemy directly hit for 9.9 seconds, and all enemies in close proximity take 245 damage. That's actually really good. I didn't actually know about the extra all enemies in close proximity bit, but the 10-second stun, again, if you can fight around Dread-Laden, 15-second stun, actually goes down to like 8.5 seconds with CC reduction. That's crazy. You can hit 4 or 5 people if you get the right time with it. Definitely very strong. Energy cost is really high, 9 meter range, which again is quite small. I'd like to see this be buffed to 11 meters. I think that would make it very viable. Cooldown 15 seconds, which is quite low, so you can spam it a little bit, but you will go out of energy very quickly. Overlord's Great Hammer. Tackle. Rush towards a target destination, ramming away any enemies on your way, dealing them 230 damage and stunning them for 7.41 seconds. So a lot of people run this as like the alternative to Great Mace. I actually don't like it. I would rather take Pole Hammer or Tomb Hammer every time, even the normal hammer, just because this actually literally rams them and moves them out of the way, which means they're not stacked. They can actually knock them out of your AoEs, which is just horrible. It's a less of a stun than the Pole Hammer, a little bit less of an energy cost, and the 11 meter range. So I think the 11 meter range is what sells it for people at the moment. However, I think if Pole Hammer was buffed to 11 meters, or this was nerfed to 9 meters, the Pole Hammer would win every time. I just don't think this is great at the moment. I think it's very, very overrated. Still
hey,
good.
Wake up.
I apologise if you just heard that. I've actually just been pinged on TeamSpeak. Let's just reply to that. Okay, yes, let's get back. Sorry, that completely threw me. Dread-Laden fighting, if you fight around that, it's still a decent timing, but again, it's harder to hit. You can get wind walled away, whereas Pole Hammer, you can stand at a safe distance back and hit them. So I think there's just more you can do with Pole Hammer, to be honest. Even with the range differences, I think I still prefer Pole Hammer. And then we get into Tomb Hammer, the tier 1 artifact for hammers. Grasp of the Undead. Sends a giant undead hand out in front of you. On hit, the enemy and all enemies in close proximity will be rooted for 15.7 seconds and receive 280 damage, 20 meter range, 52 energy cost, and 15-second cooldown. Again, I'm going to say it every time, every hammer, because every tank needs to learn how to play around this. You imagine 15.77 seconds, Dread-Laden fighting, 50% buff, boom. You can buff that to like 20 odd seconds. That's like going to be like 17-18 seconds after CC reduction of root. That's just ridiculous. You can put so much onto that then. Does a decent amount of damage actually, low energy cost compared to some of the others. 20 meter range, which means you can catch them from like one choke point to another in things like a GVG. I think Tomb Hammer is very underrated and very, very strong. I think if you get good at landing these on 2 or 3 people, then yeah, you can really win fights. I think in Hellgates it has less of a place because there's more open spaces as opposed to choke points. However, in GVGs, this is definitely got to be the place to go. And then we have Forge Hammers, the tier 2 artifact, the Hell artifact. Giant Steps makes you huge and resilient, slowing all enemies in close proximity, increases armor by 184 and auto attack damage by 146% for 10 seconds. Sucks. So the reason why is 30-second cooldown. It's not bad. It's not the best. Energy cost 75. The problem is you're going to be kited and peeled, because even if you do this in close proximity to people, you're going to be able to... They're going to be able to peel you away. Like, you don't have CC resilience. If you were CC immune during this, which I think is something they should do, then yes, this would be good. But unfortunately, they don't. Just having the armor boost and not the magic resist means that you can still die to magic casters. Attack damage is good, but how often are you actually managing to auto-attack people as a tank when you're not trying to peel? Like, these are more of a DPS weapon, I think, which makes them okay, but you have to run things like haste on your jacket then, I think, to make these work with the massive attack speed boost. I think there's time and a place where this is okay, but I think there's also times and a place where it's just not. I don't actually rate this as high, and it's definitely a bit of a weird one to have on the hammer tree, just because every single other one is a tank weapon, and then you've got this, which is the DPS one, which I like. It does a lot of damage, though. It does a flat-out high amount of damage. So if you're looking for a damage weapon with the sort of as an off-tank role, I think this could work. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm about to go and do a GVG, so I will be recording that as well, and I will upload that to the channel later on. Other than that, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the stream. I'll be streaming tomorrow. Other than that, guys, catch you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.